drought-tolerant, California-friendly type landscape, which basically uses so much less water, and it's more appropriate for our climate, for the amount of rain that we get.
The new landscaping will not only save an estimated 16,000 gallons of water per year, but it will also help offset water costs at the station. A total of 650 square feet of landscaping is being replaced today, and with the city offering a rebate of $3 a square foot, that means this fire station will be getting a check for close to $2,000.
We have to conserve water, use water wisely.
Environmentalists say replacing grass with drought-tolerant plants helps address another water issue.
I think it's really important to provide native vegetation and to help with our stormwater runoff problem and save water. It's a great multi-benefit approach.
A small change that officials hope will help save the state's most precious resource. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Fire Station 35 is the second station in the city to replace its landscaping with water-saving vegetation. A federal judge applies the brakes on President Obama's immigration programs. Local students volunteer at homeless shelters, and the city celebrates protected land dedicated for new trails. These stories in City Beat. A federal judge's decision has stalled President Obama's executive orders aimed at protecting an estimated 4 to 5 million immigrants living in the country illegally from being deported. The federal programs designed to protect people who were brought to the country illegally as children was supposed to be expanded this month, but in an 11th hour move, U.S. District Judge Andrew Hanen of Texas put the brakes on the programs. Mayor Eric Garcetti says the president's policies allow hardworking people to enhance our neighborhoods and economies. Councilman Gil Cedillo had harsher words, saying, "Shame on you, Judge Hanen." More than 500 high school students in Los Angeles and San Diego recently volunteered at homeless shelters and food banks. LA area students volunteered at 6 different locations, including at the Union Rescue Mission on Skid Row, where they served ice cream to homeless residents and handed out donated clothing.
The look on the clients' faces brings me joy because their smiles just mean so much to me, just as much as what we do to them means a lot.
I would like to come back with my family to show them and to teach them to appreciate things that we have in our own home.
The event was organized by the after-school program Beyond the Bell. Elephant Hill preservationists celebrate dedicated land for new trails. Elephant Hill is a contested hillside in El Sereno that had been slated for development since the 1980s before the Office of Council District 14 urged the city to buy the land to preserve the hillsides. And in December, 5 of the 20 acres of open space was officially transferred by the city to the Mountain Recreation and Conservation Authority, or MRCA. The MRCA plans to build a walking trail and other improvements that will enhance the experience for hikers and residents in this otherwise urban area. A comedian gets a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And as Anna Marcos tells us, the man who brought laughs to many also dedicated his life to advancing civil rights.
Stevie Wonder was among a who's who list of stars and celebrities who came to see comedian Dick Gregory get the 2,542nd star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
A wonderful entertainer, and all of his comedy comes from the heart.
But in spite of attracting celebrities like George Lopez, Roseanne Barr, and Rob Schneider to the event, the getting of this star meant more than just Hollywood bling to a man who is also a civil rights activist, philosopher, author, and family man.
Today they are celebrating their 56th wedding anniversary.
We have 10 children. Where are you?
As a lifelong activist, Gregory took part in the historic Freedom Day voter registration drive in Selma, Alabama in 1963. Since then, he has worked on everything from immigration reform to an anti-lynching bill.
You can't be Dick Gregory's friend and not have a picket sign somewhere in your lifetime with him and also go to jail with him, and I've done both many times.
He didn't just open doors, he kicked them down and opened the era and encouraged the kind of activism that changed American society for the better.
Gregory's biggest praise went to Playboy mogul Hugh Hefner, who gave him a start as a stand-up comedian at his Chicago Playboy Club in the 50s.
There's a secret law. If you're black, you can sing, you can dance, but you can't stand flat-footed and talk. And he violated that.
Since then, Gregory has helped blaze a trail for black entertainers, and he's still going. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Dick Gregory's Hollywood Star is located at 1650 Vine Street, just south of Hollywood Boulevard. San Pedro celebrates the groundbreaking of a new pool to be built at the site of an historic but dilapidated pool. The Hey Rookie Pool is now undergoing a multi-million-dollar renovation aimed at bringing it back to life. This million-dollar view overlooking the Port of Los Angeles can be found at the rundown and shuttered Gaffey Street Pool. The pool was built in 1943 on what was the former Fort MacArthur military base.
I swam in the pool in 1944-45. That time we did synchronized swimming for the war effort. We swam for the military in Fort MacArthur's pool.
The pool later opened to the public, and generations of children who grew up in San Pedro spent their summers in this pool. But for the past 30 years, the neglected pool located in Angels Gate Park had been closed.
You are standing on the ground that giants walked on. They beat the world, they rebuilt the world, and they gave us this wonderful treasure, and sadly it was squandered.
This was once known as the Hey Rookie Pool, used by military men who fought in our World War II efforts in the 40s. And today, as you see, it's been trashed, and we're going to bring this back to life, breaking ground here. We're going to splash in this pool that you see before me. This time, actually sometime next year in June of 2016.
Graffitied over and left in disrepair, the city is now pumping millions of dollars into rehabilitating the pool at 3352 South Gaffey Street. In addition to a new pool, the facility will include a new pool house, parking area, landscaping, and pedestrian walkways.
It is time for us as a community to once again have a high-quality pool so that we can create these new memories for our kids and our grandkids.
The Port of Los Angeles, the Bureau of Engineering, and the Fort MacArthur Museum Association are also involved in the project. In this week's list of things to do, get dapper for a special bike ride that's all about style, and sewing the old-fashioned way. You'll get to try it yourself at a DIY event and an exhibit featuring groundbreaking Chinese artists. The DIY movement is alive and well at the Skirball Cultural Center. On Saturday, February 28th, drop by between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. to join local artisan group So Cranky in creating fabric wallets and water bottle bags using antique hand crank sewing machines. The whole family will enjoy learning about this traditional craft practiced by many Jewish garment makers in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The event is part of the museum's last weekend of the month program. The Skirball Cultural Center is located at 2701 North Sepulveda Boulevard. Go to skirball.org. If you like tweed and mustaches or just looking dapper in general, you'll love the Tweed Moxie and Mustaches Ride on Sunday, March 1st, organized by Cycle, which stands for Cyclists Inciting Change Through Live Exchange. The ride through Northeast Los Angeles will go from 12:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. So dress in your finest because there will be a best dressed handed out later. The ride will end at the Verdugo Bar with entertainment, competitions, a raffle, and more. For the starting location and other information, go to cycle.org. That's C-I-C-L-E. 12 groundbreaking artists are being featured in a community gallery at the Chinese American Museum. The exhibition, entitled Ink Painting and Construction of Contemporary Chinese Art, will be on view through March 29. Experimenting with subject matter, material application, and execution, the artists introduce contemporary vocabulary such as mixed media, conceptual art, action painting, and abstraction to their work. The Chinese American Museum is located at the El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument at 425 North Los Angeles Street downtown. Go to camla.org for details. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. The Los Angeles Zoo is welcoming a new addition to its tiger exhibit, and it appears this guy is about to cause a roar. Yana Kay reports.
Meet CJ, a 250-pound endangered Sumatran tiger who has become the latest member of the LA Zoo family.
He's full of energy, and he loves to play and swim around in his pools and have fun.
The 2-year-old came from the Sacramento Zoo and will now spend his days getting used to his new home that's filled with toys and other goodies.
It helps him to navigate his exhibit and grow up and get ready for a new female potentially coming for him to breed with.
This species of tiger comes from the Indonesian island of Sumatra, where officials say the species has seen a dramatic decline in numbers due to poaching and deforestation.
These guys are solitary animals. They live alone, they hunt alone, and they only come together for breeding, so they need large territories.
CJ, the smallest of the 6 remaining subspecies of tigers, will join a much older female Sumatran tiger. Both will be hanging out in the exhibit. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Zoo officials say there are fewer than 400 Sumatran tigers left in the world. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. Our Twitter handle is at LATW35. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Hey, buddy. You with the stupid hat. Come here. Closer. No parking! Do you know what happens when you park illegally on these narrow hillside streets? You block the street so emergency vehicles can't pass. Each year, homes are destroyed and lives are lost because of drivers like you who park illegally. And you know what else? You can get a citation. And you can be towed.
Help us get to the emergency. The life we save just might be yours.
How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hey, look out for the pothole.
Illegal dumping? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
Hola, soy Marisol, desde Canoga Park, la ciudad toda americana. Estás viendo LA City View, Canal 35, nuestra ciudad, nuestro canal.
Mr. Koretz of the 5th District is here all the way from Midwest Los Angeles. Does anybody ever say that? Midwest Los Angeles? Sergeants, report to the committee rooms. Make sure. Mr. Bonnet is there. Thank you, Mr. Bonnet. I want to give a big salute right here to the Wilson High School Mules. Good job. All right. Mr. O'Farrell, thank you very much. Mr. Koretz and Mr. Bonnet, sergeants, call the committee room. Get the members to chambers. Thank you. Vadim Gassi right here. Wave to everybody. He's our sister city of St. Petersburg. Give him a wave, Vadim. Thank you. Shy. Nuri Martinez, thank you very much. Mr. Buscaino, thank you very much. Thank you, Stacy, very much. Thank you, Stacy. Mr. Weezar is here. Thank you, Mr. Weezar. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's Friday, the 27th day of February. If we could, sergeants, if you could organize the chambers, I appreciate that. I'd like to call on the great councilman of the 14th District, Mr. Jose Weezar, for a very, very special presentation about a great neighborhood, a proud neighborhood, home of the Wilson Mules, all Northern League all the time. Please welcome to the center podium, Mr. Jose Weezar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And may I ask the great community of El Sereno to please come up to the podium. All right. Come on up. Everybody come on up. Hi, how are you? How are you? Well, good morning, Mr. President, and we're pretty excited to be here today. We are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the great community of El Sereno. Yeah, come on in. We have a resolution today that's been signed by all the council members and our mayor, declaring February 27th, 2015 as the El Sereno Centennial Day in honor of the 100th anniversary of the great community of El Sereno. And if I could ask you, Mr. President, do you know what community our assistant to the garage is from, Eddie?
Now Eddie's the honorary mayor of El Sereno, and that's why I got parking every day. We love Eddie.
Eddie Santillana here, ladies and gentlemen, greets us every morning in the garage. And today we honor here the residents and community leaders who for decades have made El Sereno a great family-oriented community. One of the oldest communities in the city of Los Angeles, whose original name was? Bairdstown. Thank you very much. And this is the kind of community where sons and daughters return to live in the neighborhood they grew up in to raise their own children. I'm joined here today by the community leaders of El Sereno, people who wake up every day thinking of new ways to improve the neighborhood they love so much, and they are great partners to do this. The people I come to them for ideas and advice on ways we can work together to move El Sereno forward. We have with us a number of community leaders, including Violeta Urbina, who is the president of the Bicentennial Committee, and Treasurer Maria Elena Garcia. They have been part of the organization for the past 19 years. And for 56, let's give them a big round of applause. And for 56 years, they have hosted the El Sereno Bicentennial 4th of July Parade, one of the oldest 4th of July parades here in the city of Los Angeles. We brought back the 4th of July fireworks show after a 30-year absence. We brought back a fireworks show, so every year we celebrate a 4th of July parade and a fireworks show to show the patriotism. That was my Spanglish. We have culture clash here. They'd understand. That was to show the patriotism that we have for this great country. I also want to commend the El Sereno Stallions football team and cheer who are here. Where are they? Somewhere around here. It is their 20th year anniversary. And beyond teaching our kids how to work as a team, they're one of our biggest volunteer groups in El Sereno. Whenever we need help with a cleanup or something around the community, they are there to help. And I'm not sure if Tammy Membrano's here. Are you here, Tammy? Oh, yes. One of our city commissioners. She runs Barrio Action, which is an organization that provides services to our young people, which has really made a difference there. We also have a number of other organizations that I want to mention: Comité Naveño, the LA 32 Neighborhood Council, the El Sereno Veterans Monument Committee, a monument we recently opened up on Huntington Drive and Van Horn to honor our veterans. Tender Loving Covers, El Sereno Community Arts Council, the El Sereno Community Coordinating Council, Rose Hills Homeowners Association, University Hills Homeowners Association, Hillside Village Property Owners Association, and the Wilson High School Alumni Association. And we have the great mule here from Wilson High School today. All right. Now, we also are not only celebrating the great community that it is, but also the people. The people are those who truly make this a magnificent community. And today we are extremely honored to have with us Bayentana Arvizu, who is accompanied by her daughter. Like El Sereno, Mrs. Arvizu will also be turning 100 this summer. And so, we thought it was fitting that we honor her here today, as well as one of the oldest living members of the El Sereno community. So, do you have one for her? Okay. So, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, we wanted to present this rezo to Mrs. Arvizu, not only on her 100th birthday, but also on the 100th anniversary of your community in El Sereno. Congratulations. Thank you very much. She said, thank you very much. May God bless you. Thank you, Mrs. Arvizu. And ladies and gentlemen, we also have another special individual with us today. I am talking about none other than our senior lead officer, Steve Morales, who's here. Where is he, Steve? As we celebrate the anniversary of El Sereno, we also thought it was fitting that we celebrate, or not celebrate, but have a recognition of the retirement of a senior lead officer that has done so much for our community. If you see him around the community, everyone knows him by name. Many of us have his cell phone number. We call him at all hours of the day and night. But he is always there. He is someone that we love. He is someone that loves El Sereno and loves the Hollenbeck Police Station. I want to acknowledge all the men and women from the Hollenbeck Police Station at this time. Thank you so much, officers, for your work. Officer Morales has been integral to the El Sereno community for the past 15 years of his 31-year career. His name is synonymous with El Sereno, from his time with Crash Unit to becoming a training officer to becoming the senior lead officer for the El Sereno in Basic Car A4A9. Steve has truly become part of the community. And when we talk about LAPD and community policing, sounds great in concept. But he gets out there and works with the community, creates partnerships with local electeds and community groups and individuals. And the amount of time and effort that he has given to this community is beyond what we know we pay him for. But it's that effort of making those connections that senior lead officers like Officer Morales have made, along with the boots on the ground that we made sure LAPD have been doing. We have dropped crime levels in this community to levels we haven't seen since the 1950s, and we are very, very proud of that. And so Officer Morales will always have a place in the El Sereno community. He would always be someone who we will never forget. And he is also a local boy. He actually attended Huntington Drive Elementary School as a child. Where did you go to middle school? It doesn't say here.
I moved.
You moved, okay. All right. But you went to elementary school here locally. He is a fair man and a good man and a devoted family man, father of 3, Steve, Ruben, and Ryan. And he not only has given his time to us to be away from his family, as we know that could be challenging, but he looks too young to retire, as you can see. I met him 10 years ago, and he looks the same. I have gotten a little bit balder, a little bit grayer, a little bit more wrinkler, but Steve looks the same. So we want to thank you, Steve, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles for your commitment not only to El Sereno, but to your commitment to this great city and your commitment to making this city a safer place. Someone like you will never be forgotten in the community of El Sereno and beyond. Congratulations on your retirement.
I just want to thank the community of El Sereno. It's been a pleasure. You're my family. I will be around for you. Thank you.
All right, want to say something here?
Thank you. What I wanted to say was El Sereno has always been a part of my family. I'm actually going to stick around as a reserve officer so I can continue serving the community of El Sereno. I feel I owe it to them. And I just want to thank you very much for your effort and your friendship that I've gone throughout the years, not just with the community, but the businesses, the council districts that I've worked with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Gracias. Do we have Wilson High School here? And who do we have? Wilson cheerleaders? Okay. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Mr. President, I would like to thank my colleagues on the City Council because it is through your efforts and working cooperation we have brought a Valley Grade Bridge to the El Sereno community that has lessened congestion. We saved Elephant Hill. We have expanded Ascot Hills, and we continue to provide those public amenities that this community needs. And it's been the partnership with my fellow colleagues on the City Council. So thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Stay where you are right there. We have Mr. Buscaino for some words.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Huizar, for bringing El Sereno here to City Hall. And what I love about you, Jose, is you should never forget where you came from. You are so responsive to your district. Let's hear it for Councilmember Jose Huizar for knowing where he came from and never forgetting as well. I just want to, I want to recognize Senior Lead Officer Morales. And I had an opportunity to work with him when I was a senior lead down at the Harbor area. You know, as we all know, it takes a certain breed to be a senior lead. It's not for everyone. And someone that knows a community, knows it well, is passionate to serve, is dedicated and responsive. The senior lead officers is like the local council member, the teacher, the mentor in the specific basic car area. So, Steve, thank you for your service. We love you. We know you're not going far. You're going to be a reserve officer. And we just, on behalf of this entire city, we wish you the best of luck and thank your family for allowing you to serve. Because I know as a former senior lead, late nights, neighborhood watch groups, CPAD meetings, business watch groups. So thank you so much for your service to our city, and God bless you and good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. And I have something I want to add too. I just want to say I remember old Wilson High School with the junior high and the senior high. And we got beat every time by Wilson, Marshall did. And Coach Kusha was one of the greatest teachers of any coach in the LA City history. Rick Hollenbeck, great players, all there. Willie Gamboa. But I also want to say, too, that Sal Castro, the late, great Sal Castro, fought hard and really got the effort for New Wilson to be built in such a special spot. And with that, as acting president, I want the Wilson High Mules, give us a little Friday Night Lights right now.
Oh, here we go. Strike up the band.
Wilson High School Band and cheerleaders.
Thank you so much.
Turn on the mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And anyone who wants to join us will be outside on the Spring Street Plaza for some cake. And also, Mr. Buscaino, El Cerrito had one of the largest number of Italian Americans at one time. There's still a number of Italians who live there, so I know you would be very happy to hear that as a proud Italian. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Huizar. Now let's continue this great celebration as the Wilson High Team and Mules Band marches out of this chamber. Next, for a very, very, very special presentation, the great councilman of the 1st District. Give him a hand, Wilson. The pride of Roosevelt High, Gil Cedillo. I tried, Gil, I tried.
Senator.
Mr. Cedillo, if I could run through the agenda if you want a few more moments.
I'm ready. It's up to you.
Good. Okay. You're ready? I'm ready. Here we go. Gil Cedillo.
Let's go. Well, with that start, we see it's showtime in City Hall. And so I'm here and honored to introduce, acknowledge 3 of America's top social satirists. Richard Montoya, Rick Salinas, Herbert Siguenza have been in the city of Los Angeles for about 30 years. Not quite, but just about 30 years. And they form one of the most incredible and premier Latino comedy troupes, Latino theater groups known as Culture Clash. That's right. We're also joined by Nausicaa Sturgill Greca of the Center Theater Group. And so we're here today, real simply, there's a current run at the Kirk Douglas Theater of a play called Chavez Ravine. And Chavez Ravine has been a sellout since it opened up a few weeks ago, and it closes this week. And Chavez Ravine finally, based upon the research of Culture Clash, tells the true story of what took place in Chavez Ravine. And there's a misconception that the Dodgers moved out the community that lived there. But in fact, the true story is that Chavez Ravine and the communities that made up Chavez Ravine were situated there. People had come from Mexico, settled there, and it was a really great little community. It had some diversity, but it was mostly Mexican-American and Mexican. In 1944, many of them were told that there was this great idea, and it was a great idea, that their neighborhoods were going to be changed. And the 1949 National Housing Act gave the city of Los Angeles, imagine this as we struggle to address questions of affordability in Los Angeles today, they gave the city of Los Angeles $110 million in 1949. Imagine what that would be today. And they gave us that money to build affordable public housing. And so they were going to clear the ravine and build this very futuristic community up there. And that was the plan. And so in 1950, 300 families living up in Chavez Ravine were notified by the Housing Authority that eminent domain would be effectuated. They would sell their homes, and that we would guarantee that they would come back. This had nothing to do with what was going on in Brooklyn and with Walter O'Malley and the Dodger family. What happened, though, as we know, as the country came out of the post-World War period, we saw the rise of McCarthyism. And McCarthyism damaged a lot of families and damaged the fabric of this nation. And McCarthyism played a central role in destroying those plans. And Fred Wilkinson, a great American, was the leader of this effort to build public housing, and he was red-baited. And like many Americans, was called before the House on Un-American Activities Committee and ultimately was sent to jail. And he was red-baited. His life was destroyed. He was fired from the city. And then after that, after the passage of time, that property was there, mostly abandoned, although many of the families remained. After that, the city and the county, Kenny Hahn, saw the idea that there was property there and that we could bring professional baseball to Los Angeles. And so you could see that there was this important passage of time that distinguished the presence of the Dodgers and the removal of the community from Chavez Ravine. This story could not be better told than by Culture Clash. And if you get a chance, you should go see it. It's currently closing its run at the Kirk Douglas Theater. We're here to acknowledge them. They're celebrating their 30th year of working together. Now, I love my wife very much, as everybody knows. We were together for 30 years. But it's difficult times when you're married with somebody for 30 years. Imagine these three guys. They've grown up, they've got married, they have their kids, and they've stayed together longer than the Beatles, Tom. Right? Longer than the Beatles.
But not the Stones.
They are the Rolling Stones of theater. They had a great television show called Culture Clash, and they are just, they are the Mark Twains of our period. They're social satirists. They do investigative study of their subject matter, and then they create theater. They were here last year for Water and Power. Richard wrote that. All of them, they work both as Culture Clash, and then on occasion they separate and do their own individual plays throughout the state and the nation. And so I'm just happy to have them here. I'm going to call them up. I want to thank the Theater Senator Group, the Center Theater Group, founded in 1967 up here. As you know, Mark Taper, the Music Center of Los Angeles. They've been great in creating a forum for all the important plays of all of Americans. And so I want to thank them, and that's why we're here today. And so let me bring up first boys, as they still refer to as the boys. Are you going to see the boys tonight? The boys of Culture Clash coming up, all three of you.
The boys.
The boys are here. The boys are back. Rick Salinas. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rich, you're first.
Rick Salinas. Let Rick go first.
He's stage managing.
Okay. Thank you so much. To get recognized is really important to us because a lot of times you get reviews that aren't good sometimes, and you get some great reviews, but this is the best review to get recognized. And we've been working together for a long time. We try to do really a lot of homework before we put stories up on the stage. So we do research, we talk to historians, we go to libraries, we read the paper. We have to do that in order to present an honest picture of our subject matters. And Chavez Ravine is one of the best examples of that. And so it's an honor to do that play. It's an honor to be with my partners, to be with Center Theater Group here. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is this recognition. This recognition is really for the families and the families who lived in Chavez Ravine and the struggle that they had to go through and the hardships that they went through. And we're just so happy to report this back to the community. Thank you. I don't know what I said.
It's early for us. You'll forgive us. And having just sat with over 32 peace officers so early in the morning is startling for us. But thank you, Council Member and friend Gil Cedillo. Council President Herb Wesson, really nice to see you this morning. You're amazing. You're doing an amazing job, sir. I want to thank you. The play Chavez Ravine loves Los Angeles. It loves our complex history. It unpacks it carefully. We try not to romanticize parts of it and not to play it from a point of view of victims. We're telling it in a quite different way. It loves the Dodgers. It loves pitting the Trojans against the Bruins nightly. And every night we call ISIS and ask them not to harm the LA Times theater critic, and then we give his address. But that's satire. Sometimes it doesn't look pretty, but it tells a story, an important story, on the building and the growing of a great city, eminent domain, greater good. These kinds of things all factor in a very complex story. So this recognition, as I just echo with the guys, see a lot of friendly faces here in the chambers. Always a pleasure to be here in this hallowed ground as well. And it factors into the play as well, Mr. LaBonge. Good to see you this morning, sir.
Richard, great to see you. Mr. Cedillo, thank you for bringing this beautiful team of people who've lived through our lives and recited history in a way that brought a sense to think deeper than we often do. And it's so nice that you followed Wilson High School. I only wish I had you first so Wilson, the students, could learn about you more, because it's so special. There's nothing like hometown. Who went to Belmont? Who went to Belmont? Anybody go to Belmont? Right there. All right, good job. God bless you.
I want to bring up Nausicaa Sturgio from the Center Theater Group. You know, the greatest compliment I've heard of Culture Clash is they've been called the Tom LaBonges of theater. Because of their love for history.
Thank you, Councilman Cedillo.
Here we go.
Thank you for this terrific honor, which I accept on behalf of Center Theater Group and Michael Ritchie, our artistic director. And congratulations again, of course, to Richard Montoya, Rick Salinas, Herbert Siguenza, who for 30 years have done amazing, exploratory, thought-provoking theater, which is at the same time immensely entertaining. And Center Theater Group has been proud to present 7 of their productions over the years at the Mart Taper Forum and the Kirk Douglas Theater. Chavez Ravine, we commissioned originally by Gordon Davidson, Center Theater Group. We produced its world premiere at the Mart Taper Forum 11 years ago. And when Richard came to us and said he wanted to revisit the play and make it even more topical than it was originally, we jumped at the opportunity to do it at the Kirk Douglas Theater because it's the kind of play that reveals the very complex history and culture of our city. So congratulations to Culture Clash, and thank you very much to the entire City Council.
Thank you.
You know, the working people had Clifford Odets, and the African American community will tell you that August Wilson was their voice. But for here, us, Latinos, Chicanos, Mexican Americans, we'll get one name one day. It's all about Culture Clash, and they are our voice, and they are our insight into our place here, both in America, this city, and this state. So tremendous congratulations to Culture Clash for being here, and an acknowledgement that is well deserved.
Very much. Good job. Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Clerk, good morning. Let's go through the roll right now. Call the roll.
Blumenfield, Bonham, Buscaino, Sodillo, England, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Corin, LaBonge, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 10 members present. 11 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Yeah, Ms. Martinez moves. Mr. Parks, second. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. O'Farrell moves. Mr. Corrett, second. Next item.
Mr. President, there's a request from the Department of Building and Safety to continue items 14 and 15 until March 20th, and to receive and file item 1 in as much as the lien has been paid in full.
Without objection. Without objection.
Very good, sir. Items 1 through 15 are items noticed for public hearing.
Okay, 1 through 15. We want to vote on that right now, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, we should first set aside those with cards. Those would be items 1, 5, and 13.
1, 5, and 13 set aside with cards. Thank you very much. Next item.
Mr. President, we can now vote on the remainder.
Let's open the roll on the balance. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Good. Next item.
Items 16 through 19 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, 16 through, any specials, members, 16 through 19? 19, very special for Mr. O'Farrell. Very special. Okay, 19 special on the balance. Can we vote on those, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Let's open the roll on the balance, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Next item.
Items 20 through 26 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Open for consideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
They're before us, and Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir. We have cards on all matters except for item 25.
Let's see, no specials. Item 25 right now. Let's take 25 right up. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
Twelve ayes.
Thank you, Julie. All right, Madam Clerk. Next item.
Mr. President, item 27 is an item scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
Hold it on the desk. Thank you. And a recommendation of our fine city attorney. Next item.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentation.
Now it's my honor to call on the President of the City Council, Mr. Herb Wesson. But as you do, Mr. Wesson, we have an introduction real quick.
Yes, one of our fine San Pedro residents here and former council member, the Honorable Bob Farrell. Welcome to City Hall. Thank you, sir, for being here and joining us.
Great.
Thank you, council member.
You know, Mr. Buscay, well, Mr. President, thank you for calling on me at this time. And I want to say to Mr. Buscay, we all appreciate you giving an introduction to our former colleague and dear friend, Bob Farrell. What a lot of people don't know is, we're celebrating African American History Month, but Bob Farrell was one of the brave young people back in 1960 and 61 that were known as the Freedom Riders, where they sacrificed their lives, and to hear their stories, it just makes all of us more committed for civil rights and human rights. But I am here at the center aisle, at the podium today, Mr. President, with a very special presentation to one of LA's own, born and raised in the greatest city on this earth, our Captain Southwest Paul Snell. Let's give Captain Snell a round of applause. We're so fortunate that he was part of the force. He graduated from Occidental College. That is the same college, I believe, that our mayor attended and the President of the United States of America attended. You can't get in there with a C average, okay? You have to be a very bright and intelligent individual. He joined the force, I believe, in September 1984, and he had a variety of assignments throughout the city of Los Angeles. I'm proud to say that he had a stint at the Wilshire Police Department, that's in the district that I represent, and also captain of Southwest. And other than just going through awards and accolades that he has received, Cap, and that's what I always call him when I see him, Cap, is just a darn good man. For each and every one of us, it is crucial that when we have concerns from our constituents, that we have a contact, we have someone we can call in the Los Angeles Police Department to help us with police-related concerns. All of us are blessed because we have some great men and women in blue, but I was especially blessed because I had Captain Snell with me. He never, ever, ever told me no. He creatively came up with ways to deliver for my district and the district that he serviced with no money, limited resources, but a committed group of men and women that served under him. He is too young to retire, and I have a feeling that he's going to pop up somewhere doing something else. He just has not shared that with me as of yet. But this is a man who spent 30 years, Cap, or more being a public servant for the finest police department, and Lord knows, for the finest community in the United States. Could you please join me in giving a very thankful and warm round of applause to a man that has dedicated his adult life to us, Captain Snell.
Mr. President, some of our colleagues have some things to say, so when you're ready,
wonderful.
I'd like to call on Mr. Parks right now.
Thank you very much. Paul, I met you when you were a baby police officer, and now I see you as a captain of police and retiring. It makes you feel, or at least makes me feel, I'm getting older. But one of the things I think is so important is the work you've done and watch you develop from being a police officer to administrative work to just moving through the ranks with class and also commitment. But I think what also is important is you commanded a station that was named after the first African-American captain, Homer Broom, which we were successful in naming to honor him. First time in history that a African-American commanded a station. And so I'm just pleased to see that you had an opportunity to work there, and also the work you've done. And certainly we will miss you, and particularly the community of Southwest Area Community Police Station will miss you. So thank you for your service. And to your wife, thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too want to stand and echo Mr. Parks' comments and say thank you, Captain Snell. Thank you so much for being one of my mentors within the police department. In a time when we struggled with police relationships, specifically with our teen community, I was shopping around throughout the South Bureau this concept of using teenagers to problem solve with the police department. And you're one of the first captains that embraced it and said, yes, Southwest is in. We are going to help putting together a teen conference that addressed the issues of bullying, gang intervention, gang prevention, gang violence. And I just want to thank you for that. You just never forget those in the police department that you have a concept, you want to shop it around, and you were one of the first captains to say yes and ask to help. Also, in a time where we see police relationships struggle across this country, we see the lack of faith, of trust, and confidence between community and police relationships that we've seen in New York and in St. Louis. We are on the forefront here in Los Angeles, where we've had a dark history with the police department. We've come a long way. You were really responsible and had an impact on bridging the gap between the police and the community. And we'll never forget your commitment and dedication in making that happen. And we see now police agencies coming to Los Angeles to see what we've done as far as being successful in bridging the gap between the police and the community. So we say thank you. God bless you. Thank you for your service. And we're going to miss you greatly.
Thank you. And Mr. Price for comments.
Just want to celebrate the captain. I certainly have not known you as long as many, but in the short 2 years, you have just been a real invaluable resource to me and residents in the New Ninth. Always available, always accessible. You attend events. Sometimes you have your uniform on and you're there. But I think it just underscores your commitment to this community, your commitment to community policing, and what it really takes and what it really means to be a part of the community. And so you're going to be sorely missed. We appreciate your service, appreciate your commitment, appreciate your friendship and continued success. Thank you.
Thank you. And I add to all that too, Captain. Good job. Mr. Wesson.
Yeah, before I call on the captain to speak, and I do, Mr. Price and Buscaino and the chief, everything that you said where it relates to Captain Snell is just so accurate. He's the kind of person that the community had the highest respect for, and to have a creative, progressive captain that's within the Los Angeles Police Department in areas like ours that are challenged is just an asset, and we will miss you just so much because of just gifts that were given to you by your family and I'm sure by your wife in the community. You are a hard man, Captain, to replace. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present Captain Snell with a resolution from the City of Los Angeles, signed by all of my, come on in here, come on in, all of the members of this council, and the least we could do for you for so many years of service. Let's take a couple photos. I want to make sure she's in and not hiding behind the resolution. Captain, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. And first of all, thank you so much, Mr. President, for this recognition and acknowledgement of 30 years of service with the Los Angeles Police Department. A couple of things that I'd like to say, and I won't belabor it with a lot of time, but I'd like to say, as you mentioned, that I was born and raised in South Los Angeles, primarily actually in Newton Division, where I was born and raised. My mom had a house there for 35 years. We've, as the Los Angeles Police Department in this city, has gone through some tumultuous times. We look back at the Black Panther shootout in the 60s. We look at the SLA shootout. We look at some of the other incidents that have happened along the way. I remember at about 8 or 9 years old where I was when Dr. King was killed. Was in the street playing football with some friends. But this community has gone a long way. And even though we still deal with issues such as the things that we're dealing with now with Ezell Ford, some of the things that we have dealt with Rodney King, some of the things that we have dealt with throughout the years, I can say with all honesty that I am very proud of this Los Angeles Police Department in this city because we have made a difference. I would like to personally acknowledge a few people personally before I leave here. And first of all, it's my wife and how much she has dealt with a lot of the challenges that with having 30 years in law enforcement and not being there a lot of the time. But she has been by my side and been there. And she, too, has given over 36 years of service, city service, and retired about 4 years ago. But I'd like to thank her for that service. I'd also like to thank Mr. Weston and his staff, tremendous partners, along with Councilman Price, and the tremendous partners in what we do every single day to try to serve the community and do the best we can to make this community a safe one. And I think we've done that. One of the things that I've participated in and didn't have, was responsible for implementing it, was but some things that you wouldn't have seen in the 60s as having ambassadors doing demonstrations where we get together with community members and we partner with police and we go out and try to keep the peace. Those things didn't come by happenstance either. And I've learned a lot through my career, and part of that, that one of my mentors was Chief Parks. Talked about a baby captain, a baby police officer. He did know me as a baby police officer, and when he was selected as chief, I answered the phone from the mayor who was saying that I'm going to make you my next chief. So I'd like to thank the chief for mentoring me as I came up through the ranks and making me a really solid police officer. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge someone who taught me about community policing. Someone who was there for me was my sergeant in 1985. He was my sergeant, and he has been there for me time and time again and really made me understand the importance and helped me understand the importance of community policing and partnerships. And I consider him one of my biggest mentors when it comes to community policing. And I think all of you know him, Fred Booker.
Yeah.
And that would be Fred. He usually doesn't like the high profile, but he probably stuck to the back of the room. But I'd like to say in all honesty, that I appreciate the acknowledgement for 30 years of service with one of the best police departments in the nation, for one of the best cities in the nation, and being acknowledged by the best city council in the nation. Thank you.
What a great speech, Captain. Thank you so much, Mr. Wesson. Mr. Parks for a very special presentation.
Mrs. Earl, will you come up also? Thank you very much. Colleagues, today we're going to honor a real pioneer in the city of Los Angeles, and specifically in the 8th District in South Los Angeles. Earl Siegel and his wife are here today because of their personal involvement in the environmental community and also ability to help many, many people in the community raise their financial status through his business. Errol was born in Chicago, Illinois, and moved to Los Angeles in 1952. He's a UCLA graduate, which we will not hold against you. Errol originally pursued becoming a dental technician and even invented a dental instrument for making crowns and bridges. However, his passion for helping the environment and wanting to do something to lessen the massive amount of waste at landfills was too strong to ignore. Errol and his wife, Marilyn, started active recycling at 2000 West Slauson Avenue in Los Angeles in 1976 with a fortune, $500. Errol was one of the first to use recycling in his business name. Years prior, people used to refer to businesses like this as junk dealers and scrap metal places. Active recycling is particularly unique because it serves in a recycling and trash collection capacity. Earl says if someone comes with trash to our place and we see it's recyclable, we'll let them know and we'll pay them for the recyclables. Errol has prided himself on wanting to do his part and give back to the community. He wants everyone to know that trash is worth cash. Citywide, and particularly in CD8, residents have been dismayed and angered by the reckless abandon that some people have demonstrated by illegally dumping mattresses, tires, couches, refrigerators on city streets and in alleys. My office was proud to partner with Errol when he said he wanted to offer a solution to the rampant problem. On September 26, 2014, we kicked off a Clean Up LA campaign where for a week anyone in the city, not just CD8 residents, could come and dump one truckload of trash for free at Active Recycling. Normally it would cost approximately $100 to do so. So it was a great bargain that Earl hoped would motivate more people to refrain from illegal dumping. The campaign was so popular that Errol extended it twice, to October 31st and then again to November 30th. For the whole Clean Up LA campaign, over 1,225 new customers came to Active Recycling, and they dumped 2.5 million pounds of trash, 2.5 million pounds of trash. Today, we are proud to recognize Errol's environmentalism and contribution he provided the community, and we look forward to his future efforts. So, Errol, we want to commend you and Marilyn and present you with this plaque. And I think Earl's going to have an announcement while he's making his comments. So.
Well, let's give Earl a big hand, and you too, Mr. Parks, for that special effort.
Stand up here on the side.
My speech, I timed it's about an hour.
Well, you're going to do most of it in the back then.
Right. I want to thank Councilman Parks and the entire City Council for this great honor. It means so much to me to be a resident of this wonderful city and to have done a small part in helping to clean it up. Last fall's Clean Up Los Angeles campaign was quite successful, and because of this honor, I'm relaunching it. For the next 7 days, starting tomorrow, Saturday, February 28th, through Friday, March 6th inclusive, my facility will accept up to 1 ton, 2,000 pounds of trash or green waste for free. Let's help make the city even more beautiful. I might add one thing. What got me into this was driving around Los Angeles. You see old couches lying in the alley, tires. I read almost every week, there's an article in the LA Times about it. And everyone talks about the problem, and Councilman Parks and I, we talked about this thing, and we figured out a solution, and it's educating the people that it's illegal to dump trash in alleyways, parkways, streets. It's unsightly, it's unsafe, it breeds homeless people and disease and all kinds of problems, and especially when little kids are growing up, to see that it's very depressing. So I want to help beautify the city and try to educate these people that there is a legal place where to dump trash, and it's not in alleys. And I hope that in this, for the entire city gets involved. People, if they see something behind their house they want to get rid of, they could bring it down and dump it for free. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Parks, thank you for your leadership on that as well.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'd like to call on Mr. Price for a very special presentation of some of the great citizens of not just Los Angeles, but any city in the world. Mr. Price of the new Ninth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you know, we've been having Black History celebrations all around the city, commemorating the achievements and the advocacy of African Americans in our community. Here at City Hall, for example, we've acknowledged the contributions of fraternities, sororities, of writers, of musicians, entertainers, athletes, actors, and today we're going to acknowledge leaders in business and politics. Let me ask our honorees to come forward. DBA, Black, Recycling Black Dollars. Madam Townsend, come on up. I first would like to acknowledge Ms. Jackie B. and Crystal Mitchell, co-directors of Recycling Black Dollars. Founded by Mohammed Nasruddin in 1988, this organization is dedicated to aiding in the economic development of the African American community by encouraging the support of black businesses. Recycling Black Dollars teams with organizations, churches, Fortune 500 companies in an effort to encourage vending and contract opportunities for small businesses. They've done an excellent job. I want to commend you for your service, and let's give a hand again to Recycling Black Dollars. You have 30 seconds.
Oh, 30 seconds. Thank you so much, Councilman Price. I'd like to thank all of our family, friends, and supporters for being so very supportive. We could not have done it without you. I'd also like to mention the late, great Mohammed Nasruddin, who built a wonderful foundation, and we are going to try as hard as we can to continue his legacy. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to bring forward Skip Cooper, Earl Skip Cooper II, founder and president of the Black Business Association of Los Angeles. Since 1970, the BBA has successfully mentored and worked with emerging black-owned firms to help them gain access to long-term contracts and expansion capital. Skip, thank you for your organization, for all that you do, for being a positive role model and a mentor for so many. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Councilman Price. I have 30 seconds. Can I do like elected officials and expand that a little bit?
No.
I can, huh? First of all, on behalf of the Black Business Association, I want to really thank Councilman Price and the City Council for presenting us with this distinguished award. Tomorrow night, on our 45th anniversary year, we will have an award dinner that we're going to recognize historians as it relates to black history. One of those honorees is former council member Bob Farrell. He's going to be recognized as a freedom rider, but I also want to recognize him today in terms of his effort over 30 years ago to have Santa Barbara Boulevard renamed Martin Luther King Boulevard, and that's Council Member Bob Farrell. And I know you have a lot of work. I remember when I was here 30 years ago as a consultant to Gil Lindsay, and it still looks the same except for the computers. Thank you. Where's Gil?
Mr. Price, could I just add something? There's a retired city employee named Saul Claiborne who by hand with a sponge made the sign of the tree of the parkway right by the sports arena. And I wanted to just mention his name because every time I'm on Martin Luther King, I think of Saul. And the great sign that he made still today stands, and he did it by hand, that tree image that you see of the Memorial Parkway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next honoree is Gene Hale. Gene is the president of GNC Equipment Corporation and the founding president of the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce. Their vision was to create an organization that would serve as an advocate for African American-owned business enterprises and to promote their growth and expansion in domestic and international areas. Gene is led by example. He started his first business at 8 years old, opening a small shoe sign stand in an Alabama barbershop that led to a shoe polish wholesaling business. In 1991, he and others founded GLAC with the vision of creating an organization that will serve as an advocate for African American-owned businesses. Leading by example, Mr. Hale has served on committees and commissions at the state and local levels of government. And in 2010, he was appointed by President Obama to serve on the President's Export Council, which is the principal national advisory committee on international trade. He shared his experiences, his success, and his drive with others, pooling collective knowledge to ensure that other African American-owned businesses excel. Gene, thank you for your leadership and your commitment.
Thank you. You got 30. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Price, for taking time to recognize us today. I think that, being raised in Birmingham, Alabama, I have a firsthand knowledge of some of the achievements that we have made today. I could not imagine growing up in Alabama, 11 kids living in a two-room house, that one day I would be appointed by 2 presidents of the United States. I would be sitting in this council looking at a black police chief, because in Alabama you had Bull Connor, who was the police chief. Those are the kinds of things that I think that brings to the forefront of all the efforts, all the good things that Martin Luther King and all the freedom riders did to make all these things possible. I am so happy that I've had mentors in my life that have encouraged me to do the right thing, to talk about mentoring young folks, and just basically trying to create opportunities for young people. So I am very humbled today to receive this award on behalf of the Greater LA African American Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, we have Madam Townsend, Madam M.C. Townsend, President and founder of the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce in San Fernando Valley. The Regional Black Chamber was founded, when was it founded? 2000? Year 2000, just a short time ago, as an effective advocate for businesses in the San Fernando Valley and surrounding areas. Their mission is to provide regional services to meet the success and needs of small, minority, women-owned businesses, empowering the community and business members through education and also training programs for its members. Madam Townsend has been on the forefront of this mission, actively seeking new opportunities for her membership, and I commend her for all of her efforts in San Fernando Valley and beyond.
Thank you so much. I prepared a speech again for an hour, Councilman Price. An hour? Okay, very well. No. Thank you very much, Councilman Price. I appreciate the opportunity and certainly the extraordinary recognition to the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. I bring warm greetings from the Chamber. We've celebrated our 15th year this 2015 as of January. And I just want to thank Councilman Price and really all of the great council members that are here. The Regional Chamber embodies about 35 cities, including the entire San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita Valencia, Burbank Glendale, and we have a small satellite office on the west side of Marina del Rey. And we're about access and visibility for our many, many members, turning contacts into contracts for businesses. And I want to thank not only Councilman Price, but Councilman Martinez-Nunez, and certainly Councilman Bloomfield and Fuentes, because they all serve within our district, and we appreciate you for being business friendly. Councilman Price, thank you again.
Okay, before we bring up our political honoree, I'd like to ask Crystal from BBA to say a few words.
Hi, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank my partner. The work that we do in Los Angeles is very important, and actually all of us that are in the community that are helping to make this place a better place for all the nationalities and all the ethnicities that live in the city. It's very important to us that we work together and that we make sure that we are a successful city. Thank you. Thank you, Kern. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next members and our friends in the public, it's my honor to recognize someone who needs no introduction. Percy Pinckney. Percy, come on up. Born in Macomb, Mississippi, Mr. Pinckney moved to California and never looked back. He's been active in California politics at the local, at the state, and the federal levels of government for more than 30 years. Here in City Hall, he was Robert Farrell's chief of staff in 1985. He served with Governor Jerry Brown during his first term from 75 to 83 and joined Senator Feinstein's staff in 1992 and served until his retirement in 2014. Percy has helped shape many a young and old mind. During his service with the United States Army, he founded the Youth for Service, an organization dedicated to helping young people stay active and out of trouble. He's also served on Youth Offender Parole Board and other agencies. Percy is a founding member of the Black American Political Association, BAPAC, and continues to be active in California politics despite his retirement last year. Thank you for your service and your dedication to the state of California and to the city of Los Angeles, Percy. And let me just note, tomorrow we'll be celebrating his birthday. Percy Pinckney. We're going to go back. We're going to go back for some pictures. Mr. Pinckney?
First of all, I want to say, give an honor to God. I am grateful. I am truly grateful. And I want you to know that Los Angeles, first of all, this is the best city council in the world. And I want to thank all of you.
Thank you.
And appreciate it. I started my career right here on this floor with Bob Farrell. Since that, Los Angeles has been not only great, but good to me. And I want to thank all of the Los Angeleses, and I want to thank all of the city officials and leaders in Los Angeles for the honor that you have bestowed upon me. And I want to say thank you, and God bless all of you.
Thank you, members, and I invite you to join us in a reception after council behind chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Thank you very much. That was very nice. Mr. Clerk, I want to take 27 right now and have our city attorney give us the thoughts and recommendation.
Mr. President, if I may, in the case entitled City of Los Angeles versus Advanced Development and Investment et al., there is a recommendation to accept $2 million in settlement.
Very good. So that's a recommendation of the city attorney. We appreciate that, Mr. Clerk. No speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes.
And, Mr. President, there's been a request to send item 16 forthwith.
Absolutely. And send that forthwith, too.
Very good, sir.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to call on Mr. O'Farrell for that item. Read that item. 19, Mr. Clerk.
Very good, sir. Item 19 is an Arts Parks, Health, Aging, and River Committee report relative to the feasibility of creating an enhanced infrastructure financing district along the Los Angeles River to support restoration and maintenance of the river and river-adjacent communities.
Very good. Mr. O'Farrell, you called this special?
And yes, Mr. Chair, and we do have 3 comment cards that I would like to suggest that we go ahead and hear because of the importance of this this initiative.
Okay, good. We have 3 cards here. Wayne from Encino.
Nice seeing you. Thank you for being here.
Is Wayne from Encino here? Note the card.
So I'm trying to get past all the blue tape. Really can't get here in time when you have all the seats taken away with blue tape. It's very difficult under the Brown Act to talk on items.
Stay on the subject.
Well, the city attorney should rule whether or not they can close the meeting off.
Got to be on the subject, Wayne. You're losing your time.
By the whole blue tape situation. That's what I'm saying.
All right, you're not talking on the subject, so I'm going to ask you to dismiss yourself. Thank you. Next speaker will be Maria Camacho.
Good morning, members of the City Council. Maria Camacho with the LA River Revitalization Corporation. I'm here to support the creation of the Enhanced Infrastructure Finance District along the LA River to support recreation and maintenance of the river and river-adjacent communities. The EIFD is a powerful tool for economic development and serving public needs. Applying this mechanism along the river is a step forward in continuing to implement the city's River Revitalization Master Plan and DOT's strategic plan of completing the Valley's River bike path segments through the Greenway 2020 efforts. I strongly believe this is an amazing tool that we should use, and my organization is happy to work closely with EWDD, along with the CLA and CAO, and any other entity as needed to draft and implement this established policy, which we, again, feel is very important. It's a great way to initiate this study and adopt this EIFD for a general area and the river project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Camacho. Lewis McAdams.
Hi, I'm Lewis McAdams from Friends of the Los Angeles River. I'm just here to support Mitch O'Farrell's motion. I think we have finally found a mechanism that which we can start to really make Alternative 20 a reality. And we'll be working closely with them as this evolves. But this is the first step, I think, in funding a visionary plan for the future of the Los Angeles River. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lewis. And now I'd like to call on Mitch O'Farrell of the River Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I hate to use a bad metaphor here, but I'm going to. We are at a watershed moment for the Los Angeles River. And I think it's appropriate because we all know in this chamber that there have been decades of work that has led up to a time when we can really fully fund or begin to think about fully funding in the long term the vision for the Los Angeles River. In 2007, the Revitalization Master Plan was adopted. The city, county, and state, we've already invested much more than $200 million over the years, and that has always been done through grit, determination, and an ad hoc approach to doing projects along the river by working with incredible partners like Friends of the Los Angeles River and now the River Corporation and our city Bureau of Engineering and our, like I mentioned, our county and state partners. We've gotten a lot of improvements done all along the 31-plus mile stretch of the river from Canoga Park down to where the river meets the county line 31-plus miles later. The fact that we have this tool, and it was Senator Jim Beall from Santa Clara, that led the effort to create Senate Bill 628, which creates an infrastructure financing scheme, if you will, to implement improvements that cover so much of what we care about at the river. And I'll go a little more into it later, but what this does and why this is such an important tool that I believe we should explore, and I will ask for your support to move forward on this, is that if we do, I should say, when we do this mechanism the right way, and it is fully implemented, it is designed in such a way that it leaves no one behind. We all know, for example, that we are facing an affordable housing crisis. The fact that SB 628 calls for low or moderate income housing accommodates that, that it also calls for habitat restoration, for brownfield remediation, for connectivity, habitat restoration, all of the things that are important at the Los Angeles River to continue bringing it back to life without leaving any of our neighborhoods behind. It's important that as the city moves forward into a new era, that we address the needs of our constituents all up and down the river. And I feel that this tool holds great promise for that to help fulfill the vision that we've crafted over the past several decades, as I mentioned. So what I'd like to do at this time is invite someone who has been working on the template, if you will, for this, and that is Jenny Scanlon, from EWDD. She has reported to my committee 3 different times since October, so we are before council now to really move this forward in a way that is more structured and more defined. So with that, Jenny, if you would expand on what tools this could provide the city for the river and what a river EIFD can and can't do, and what types of projects it can fund, and what types of entities that it can fund and can't fund. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Jenny Scanlon. I'm the Assistant General Manager with the City's Economic and Workforce Development Department. And thank you, Council Member. The report before you today came out of a motion from Arts, Parks, Health, Aging, and the River Committee, Council File 141349. The original motion requested that our department collaborate with the CAO, CLA, and BOE to report on the feasibility of creating an enhanced infrastructure finance district for revitalization of the Los Angeles River and its adjacent communities. I want to thank the committee for actually putting that motion forward and giving us a platform to put a little bit more of a denser report together for the committee and for your council to consider. As this is a new tool that was just adopted by the state and enacted as of January 1st, 2015, we wanted to use this as an opportunity to explore that tool in a little bit more depth and provide as much guidance as we could to the city and the council on how we could use this not only for the river but again potentially in other communities or neighborhoods citywide. So we did take some liberty with the report and expanded quite a bit. But ultimately, what we are providing are a few recommendations. The first is for the city to look at, because we think that this is a tool that will be used moving forward, hopefully in partnership with the county and other affected taxing entities. We think it's important to start with a good baseline, and so we have suggested that the city put together an enhanced infrastructure finance district establishment policy. Our department is happy to take the lead on that and obviously work with other entities within the city to put forward to you, hopefully very soon, basically a baseline that would help us to look at how we would process these requests and think about how to enact this tool citywide. But we really spent hopefully a good piece of the report talking about the river. We know that the river for the city of Los Angeles represents not only a recreational opportunity but an economic opportunity, and that there are obviously a number of interested parties throughout the city, both within various council districts and in the communities that want to see us utilize this river to its highest potential. And doing that is going to take some investment. And this is an interesting tool that might get us to putting together a piece of that investment puzzle. It won't provide the entire funding necessary to implement something like Alt 20 and to do all of the things that the neighbors would like to see happen. But it is going to be a potential tool to look at, I think, in quite a bit more depth. And so we're making some recommendations. We've looked very cursory at the ability to generate some income by adopting an EIFD on the river. We do believe that given property values today, that we could see revenue generating from a river restoration EIFD or a series of EIFDs along the river. Things that we need to consider moving forward are the size and the boundary of the EIFD. We need to study that to manage expectations and determine feasibility and priority and functionality. We also want to make sure that we have put forward all of the right thinking before we get to an adoption process and before we get to that resolution of intention. And so we have made a recommendation to set aside some funding that will help us to do this initial planning, to put together a working group, to work within the city family as well as to bring in our partners, hopefully in the county and potentially other jurisdictions, because we can look at partnering with other cities and putting together some ideas for what that enhanced infrastructure finance district might look like, either as a whole or in pieces. And so those are the recommendations before you today, and I'm happy to go into any more detail or answer questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell. As you transition, we have other members on the queue.
Yeah, and I know that, so I'm not going to speak real long again here. I just want to thank Jenny for all your work on this, and I just want to put out there for the record that this is not a tax increase. by any stretch of the imagination. We all know that real estate property values are increasing in the city of Los Angeles, and especially along portions of the river. What this tool can provide us is that more of those increases in property value taxes that are collected can be spent locally for immediate reinvestment, for economic development, low-income housing, the things I mentioned earlier. I also want to thank my colleague Bob Blumenfield for co-introducing this with me, and my members of my committee as well, and Corinne Price, who seconded it, and for your work on this, because this really is about the entire 31-plus miles of the Los Angeles River. It is a city resource, and it is really building upon a foundation that has been put in place by people like Lewis McAdams and Folar since the 1980s. And this is, when we do this the right way, it's going to be a long, arduous journey, and it should be, and it might take a couple of years, but we will work with our partners in the county. We will work with the city, with our nonprofits, and with community, more importantly than anything. So with that, I'd like to open it to my colleagues to say
Thank you
a few
very
words.
much.
Thank
And for your great work, Mr. O'Farrell, could I talk to Mr. Blumenfield now? You got the floor.
Great. Thank you. And it's been a pleasure being a co-author with you on this. And I want to thank you for your hard work and leadership on the river. And to pick up on what you're saying, this is a river that affects the entire city. My district doesn't have a square inch that's a part of Alternative 20, but I recognize that the entire river is a city function, and a big part of it goes through my district. And what happens downriver will enhance what happens upriver, and ultimately we're going to have this great linear park. I really appreciate Scanlon about the sort of sober looking at the EI infrastructure financing districts that you are undertaking and the recommendations that you're putting forward, because this is an untested tool, and we need to figure out how to do this and how to really use this. I think it's a great tool. It's unfortunate that we need it. The reason why we have to have this tool is, after the CRAs, shot themselves in the foot by suing on the reform CRA legislation that we had done in the legislature, they eliminated the possibility, of using the CRA, which would have been the more logical way to go about this. And when I was leaving the legislature, we tried to do an infrastructure financing district very similar to the bill that Bill did. It was vetoed because it wasn't enough time. Now we have this bill that's in front of us that creates IFDs, but it's not the same as CRAs, because we have to be much more careful of how we use the tax financing. We can only really deal with our own piece of it, and we're dealing with property taxes. It's really important that we focus on how we make sure that the improvements that we do create the value along the river. And the questions that you're asking us to look at, and the group that you're going to put together, I'm confident we'll do that. It's a great tool, and it's a noble goal, the river. It starts in Canoga Park up in my district. We have 31 miles in the city, and we all share that vision of what this can be. And I'm really excited to be part of this, and want to do everything I can to goose it along and to work with you on the nitty-gritty details of figuring out how to use this financing tool to the best of our ability here in the city of LA. So I thank you, Mr. O'Farrell, for bringing this forward. I thank you for really digging in on this, and we're gonna really do good with this river. So go LA River. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's not a goose, it's a geese from Canada that come through your district every year. Just to correct that. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank my colleagues, Mr. O'Farrell and Mr. Blumenfield, for this work on what I believe will be a vital policy. The area that connects the most with my district is the Sepulveda Basin Wildlife Reserve, which is on the edge of CD5. And there's already been a lot of good restoration work there. And it's home to over 200 species of birds and mammals, everything from hawks and falcons to snakes and squirrels and raccoons and many others. So I'd like to see us build on that good work and make sure that some of this funding goes towards habitat restoration. I think that's very important. But I also think the human habitat is just as important, and I hope that we move somewhat in the direction that San Antonio has, where they make the river a real key part of their city as far as tourism and culture. And that's not really the river now. The river's largely, despite our best efforts, ignored by the general population. I think we can move in the right direction and make the river the heart of our city. So I certainly would encourage that. We've also been doing a lot of work as the LA caucus of the Metropolitan Water District to do some good things with water policy, funding stormwater, funding cleanup of our San Fernando Valley aquifer. And obviously we need to do more in that direction to be more innovative with water capture. And so we can help our stormwater compliance requirements, since, as I always like to remind us, we owe about $8 billion if we don't completely do that. And this can help us fund clean water and more water going through the river. So I think there's all kinds of positives to this, and many more that I haven't mentioned. This is a very exciting first step, and I thank you both for making it possible and strongly support it.
Thank you, Mr. Paul Koretz. Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I rise because I want to give a shout out to Mitch O'Farrell. This is good work, moving us in the right direction. I'm sure that you and the members of the Arts Parks Committee will take us to a place that we really want to go. This is such a jewel, a diamond in the rough. So I think that it's critical that we come up with a way to just make this shine. I agree with Mr. Koretz. We want people to come. We want people to see it. I see an ability economically where this would pay off to the city of Los Angeles, and I'm just so pleased that there are so many members that are taking an interest in this. And I think we're fortunate to have Bob Blumenfield with us, who attempted to put together legislation to do this. He knows Senator Beal. He understands how that mechanism works. So I think I can see us moving, all cylinders are pumping. So let's move forward with this. You know, when we're in our wheelchairs or what have you, we want Angelenos to be able to look at this river and view it as the diamond that it truly is. So I appreciate your good work and the work of the rest of our colleagues.
Mr. Wesson, it's not cylinders, it's oars. Okay, we got it. You got it. You got it. Very good. Thank you. Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. I may be repeating something that was said before. First of all, I certainly congratulate my colleagues for their hard work on this effort and staff. This is an exciting tool, new tool in the toolbox, and we look forward to its applicability citywide. I know that we're going to be hearing this issue in the Economic Development Committee. We look forward to it and figuring out how we can really use this to provide resources in areas that do not have the access to former CRA. And so, again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Price. And Mr. O'Farrell, the close, I do. Mr. Buscaino, our man from San Pedro.
Thank you. You know, from San Pedro down to the central part of the city of Los Angeles, we talk about waterfront redevelopment. If finding ways to bring prosperity to the water line, and if this is going to help with these EIFDs as another tool, because of the demise of the CRA, this is another tool, as Mr. Price indicated, that's going to bring retail, dining, entertainment, housing to the LA River. So, you know, thanks for being a champion, Mr. O'Farrell. We're really proud of your efforts. And again, whether you're down at the waterfront, down at the harbor, which we're trying to redevelop, which talking about for 20 years, and now we have some progress being made to bring in, again, the key elements that are going to attract folks, attract housing, and bring that component of retail, dining, entertainment to our water lines, whether, again, you're on the LA River or down at the LA Harbor. And Jenny, to lead, thank you so much for being here and leading the way. We're just so proud of your commitment as well. You, if anyone here in the city has the skills, knowledge, ability to make this and seek this happen, it's you. So thank you so much for your commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bonin,
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Since everybody else here is planting their flag on this issue, I thought I needed to rise because Jenny and I have been having conversations about doing something similar in Venice Beach. This could be a tremendous way to finally come to some resolution on some of the problems that have been plaguing the beach area community for a while. And in an area where property values are increasing dramatically, it could be a great revenue stream to provide affordable housing in the coastal zone, to come up with some parking and transportation infrastructure solutions. So thank you for your leadership on this one. I look forward to doing the same thing. And I got to echo what Joe said. You have been such a fantastic thinker and doer and ally on this, and I'm really happy to be working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonin. Mr. O'Farrell, the close.
Thank you, Leslie. I have another prop. And I want to thank Michael Atfeld, who's back there with Riverworks and BOE, who provided the handouts that give an example of visuals of what can be improved in your district and some of the examples of what could qualify. And I want to also just say, I want to take great care in how we explain this to the public. One of the issues with CRAs was that the scary terms eminent domain and making findings of blight were part of CRAs. Those two terms are not part of EIFDs. So we remove those poison pills from the conversation. It really is all about helping fulfill this vision. And I'll just close with something that Mark Pisano, who is with California Forward and the public administration professor at USC, his comment on EIFDs in general is as follows. He feels that this is the best thought-out piece of legislation in the country. That's one opinion of an expert, and I think that, as I mentioned, this holds great promise for the river and for other initiatives across the city. So I look forward to continuing this adventure, riding the rapids on the river, literally and figuratively, until we get something long-term to help fulfill this vision. So thank you, colleagues, and thank you, Jenny.
Mr. O'Farrell, I just want to personally thank you. The great thing about this body of our city is we're able to serve and do things. And those who went before us, they were able to do things. And you're carrying the baton real far. It was 1988 when the first meeting was held in the river in Mr. Bradley's press conference room. And all these years, progress. This is great, Jenny. Very good thing. Everybody's got a piece. It's water and relationships, and that's what life's all about. So thank you. No other speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Forthwith on that one. Next item, number 1, please.
Item 1 called special for cards. And again, Mr. President, there's been a request from the department to receive and file item 1 in as much as the lien has been paid in full.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. If you go there now, you will see that the yes on Prop 1 and 2 people have successfully blocked my website as malicious. Check it out now, J. Walsh Confidential. It's malicious. Number 1, this again is hearing protest, building and safety, $562 lien. Whether it's fair or not, we'll see. I'm only going to use up 1 minute. Go to J. Walsh Confidential and see how I'm being censored as malicious.
Wayne Spindler.
Yes, thank you for correcting this injustice, this theft. This fine people paid this lien, but where are the papers for them to record it? Where's the satisfaction of judgment? Where's the satisfaction of the lien? Where is it notarized? What proof is it that it's been recorded in the county recorder's office to clear the title on this property? You're not giving them that. And you got this man over here, and he's got a big stack of papers. Give the people the satisfaction of the lien. Most of these people have paid this already. 20 years later, now they got $18 million in interest on all these liens. Stop doing this. Discharge all these liens on these fine American citizens of Los Angeles. Thank you.
RH.
Robin Hood is here, Mr. Bong Bong. For 1 minute, I'm going to talk about the $526.42 at 11827 West Santa Monica Boulevard. It is rude on your part to continue the process of the liens. You're so un-American friendly now, Mr. LeBong. You and your cohorts and CD11 who put this lien at 11827 on the west side now. Finally, someone on the Jewish side has an issue with you. I say hold their time, let them be under the process of due process, and certify them by mail without the restrictions of your bullshit here. And I'm going to hold my time to 1 minute. I'm down to 14 seconds because you know what?
All right, thank you very much. That's good. They've got that complete. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next
and
item.
again, that matter was received and filed.
Correct. Next item.
That brings us to item 5, called Special for Cards.
RH. Mr. Parks.
Have a motion that we approve or receive and file this, and that the cost should be $592 even, and that they have paid that today.
Thank you very much. And the clerk has that. There's a public speaker called right now. Reset the clock. RH.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me the 2 minutes. Anna Gutierrez and her family feel that you're harassing them at 1137 East 103rd Place for the lien of $2,565.68 by who other than CD8 Councilman Mr. Price. Or I might be wrong, it might be Mr. Parks. But who cares? It's a minority area again. And minorities are targeted by the process of the liens that you jackasses put against them, and I'm sick and tired of it. It's rude, offensive, disruptive to their lives. To satisfy a lien, you put all this interest against these families, these homeowners. Not even Krikorian wants to sit in his seat and hear all this. He's gone. So the American people demand action, and that action is this. I'm at 1 minute, going into 2. Is that we, the people, I, the speaker on behalf of the people, demand hearing and fair due process, that you will always notify the public when you put this lien against our property. You will give them a receipt, parking validation, maybe food to eat, since they've been sitting here for over 2 hours. It's now 11:45. So you see, Mr. City Attorney, this American defends the American people on the issue of liens. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 pages of lien here. And how many times are you going to do this to the public? Why don't you go to the county assessory's office and waive off that lien instead of holding them on it, you contemptuous beast?
Wayne Spindler. Thank you. And Ms. Gutierrez, note your card. Note your card. Thank you. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next
and Mr. President, that's to reduce the lien amount to $592 and receive and file this matter.
Item 13, Wayne Spindler. Five Brothers. Is there a champion Five Brothers here? Mr. Clerk, will you read that card into the record? They're not answering.
There's no name, sir. The business is Champion Mortgage and Five Brothers.
Okay, there is no one answer to that card. So seeing none answering that card, no speakers on the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Next item.
That brings us to item number 20, called Special for Cards.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. I'm getting inundated by emails. What did you say that they found malicious? They blocked your email. You blocked your website. Go to it. Find out. Public hearing on number 20. This is REAP. Again, when you do a good job, we are the first to congratulate you. And this REAP, which was, I believe, started by Jackie Goldberg many years ago, was the best thing she ever did, because if you out there feel that your landlord has not repaired your house up to code, you can go to the city, and if the landlord refuses to repair your apartment or your rental house, you don't pay your rent to the landlord anymore. You pay it to, that's right, the city. Go to J. Walsh Confidential and find out what the hell is going on in this cyberspace.
Daniel Geis.
Wow. I'm most specifically here for item 20C, which Nuri Martinez's item is, but Ms. Martinez is gone for her item. That's why anytime I see an item with Nuri Martinez's name on it, it reminds me of what Mark Twain said about politicians.
All right, hey, please, speak to the issue. No, you're not. Speak
City
to the
Attorney,
issue.
I want to make a connection about a council member who's not here. You're eroding my time. Because he interrupted me, I want to make the nexus between a politician who's not here for her item and something that Mark Twain said about politicians who do that. So please give me the leeway, City Attorney. He is deliberately using my time. Am I allowed to make my point with Mark Twain? All right, well, I will use an expletive if you try to interrupt me again, and it will be bad, believe me. Mark Twain said about politicians, just specifically related to item 20C, he's screwing with my time, City Attorney. You're going to get the F-bomb, trust me. About politicians who are missing from their item, like Ms. Martinez is missing for public comment about 20C. Mark Twain said, politicians and diapers both should be changed frequently, and for the same reason. That's Mark Twain on a council member who's not here for her item. Mark Twain said, politicians and diapers should be changed frequently, and for the same reason. Well, where is the councilwoman on 20?
Stay on topic, sir.
Yeah. Where is Ms. Martinez?
Stay on the topic, sir.
I'm talking about item 20C, and I don't see the representative for 20C.
All right,
here.
thank you for your comments.
Here she is. Here she is. Let me make my point. Where's my... you're turning off my mic?
No, you can speak.
All right, fuck you.
Wayne Spindler. Mr. City Attorney, please note that.
Yes, now Mark Twain has been banned as free speech in comments. It's that politicians are like diapers. They should be changed often and for the same reason. Because they sit in their chairs and they rot. And they need to be changed often. Now, we had a councilwoman that was missing on the board, but now she's back in her chair. Now, we look at the REAP program. Here again, we have private property owners being harassed in a quasi-totalitarian way to have their tenants pay and pay and pay to the city and not into their coffers so they can get these repairs done faster. No more REAP. Stop raping private homeowners. Vote no on the REAP program. Thank you.
I want to say it correctly, but Mr. Robin Hood. RH?
Speaker, I pass.
Tom Kelly, please.
Yes, I'm the representative for Tom Kelly for the 60s.
State your name, please.
Okinga Lovas, Lovasc. And everything's been complied with, so that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Billington, thank you very much. Okay. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next item.
Item 21, called special for cards.
John Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at J. Walsh Confidential. Go there and you'll be amazed what you see as the Yes on One people have blocked my website for being malicious. 21, this is a request for an exemption, Chief Grants Administrator. What that means is the person that the mayor has chosen is not qualified under the city charter to hold this job unless you grant an exemption and put in somebody who isn't qualified. This is a trick. The name of the person isn't here, but that's what an exemption is. And go to J. Walsh Confidential, and you will be amazed at what you will see.
Mr. Herman, do you have this card? Is this your card? Thank you. Speakers on the queue. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Forthwith on that, please.
Item 22, called special for cards.
Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, considering that you have $1 billion in arrears for fixing our pipes, I just don't think we should continue to spend money on naming intersections, especially for Officer Chris C. I'm assuming that means he's an LAPD officer. Now, the LAPD shot to death Ezell Ford in cold blood. You can see that was that malicious? That's why my website is blocked, for saying things about the LAPD in the city. Because here, it's turning into El Salvador. I don't know who this person is. I hope somebody here will enlighten us who this officer is, whether he's an LAPD officer, and whether he shot any black or brown people in cold blood, the way Ezell Ford's blood is on the street. Hollywood High, go to J. Walsh Confidential and see what happens.
Wayne Spindler.
Yes, the prior speaker made good points. In a bankrupt city with broken pipes, we're naming streets after officers where the officers right now, they may have shot people because they're black. So at the moment, we shouldn't be naming any intersections after any police officers until the investigation on this shooting is resolved and all the other beatings and killings in all of these jails. So we should name the intersection Corruption Square. that would be the perfect way, because CD6 is a cesspool of corruption ran by absentee landlord politicians.
Stay on the subject, please.
And they should be changed more frequently than diapers. They should be changed every 2 days. Thank you. 1 minute.
Miriam Folger.
Yes, it's a nice red day or a black day, depending what we look at. If it's going to be for our country, or it's going to be a dark day. Anyway, the point I'm saying is that we've named streets after famous people that have done things for our communities, for our city and the county and the state and the federal, our country. And unfortunately, we're just kind of just watering down anybody's name. I never heard of this officer's name. I have nothing against the police. I have nothing against the fire or any of them. But if you're going to put somebody in that's famous, that has done something good for the people. I don't care who it is, as long as it's a good person and done a good deed. Someone who has contributed to our country, and that's the main thing. Because we live in the greatest country in the world, and we can't forget that. So, please, do not pass this. Let them send it back to committee and to ask him to put somebody who has done something for Van Nuys. Thank you very much.
Ms. Martinez.
Mr. President, this was actually a motion that was introduced by our colleague Paul Krikorian, who's not here. But I just wanted to say that Officer Cortijo lost his life last spring following an accident caused by a driver who was under the influence of cocaine. Some of us went to his funeral. It was last year. He died on the intersection of Saticoy and Lancashire in the community of North Hollywood. And Mr. Krikorian introduced this motion in memory of this police officer who was a traffic officer in the San Fernando Valley who actually lived in Mr. Krikorian's district. And this is to permanently recognize his memory and his sacrifice by naming the intersection of Van Nuys Boulevard and Armenta in his honor. So I would ask for an aye vote.
Thank you very much, Ms. Martinez. Mr. Herman, you have a card?
Mr. Speaker, I pass.
Donna Pyramid.
I mean, what the officer did was great, but the problem is another feel-good measure, because by the time you go over there and read, probably they have a plaque saying what he did, most people driving won't be able to see that sign and probably would cause some problems. So I have a feeling that you're not really teaching anything about the spot naming the after the officer, and it's just a feel-good motion to make the city council look good. And basically, and we got a lot to do more in Van Nuys that's not going to be done. And so, you know, this is just a feel-good measure. And in the meantime, you won't open our Van Nuys video conferencing. Not right.
Daniel Gus.
Well, the councilwoman is here. You know, I always doubt the veracity of any motion I see from Nuria Martinez. She is a shrill, shrieking shrew from the 6th
Please
District.
stay on the subject of the item.
You're not letting me make my time, so you will get the F-bomb if you interrupt me on an item about a police officer. I am concerned whether what Ms. Martinez specifically told us is correct, or if it has something to do with payments that the LA Times wrote about.
Keep on topic, sir.
I am. I'm concerned about her. You know, fuck you, Tom.
Sergeants, would you ask the gentleman to keep on topic?
I haven't had a fucking chance.
All right, cut the microphone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, your time's over, pal. Your time's over. You're not talking about the subject. Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Yeah, very good, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sergeants. Thank you very much. No other, Mr. Englander? Mr. Wesson, excuse me.
I just wanted to just rise on this item so that the people that are here and that the individuals that may be viewing this on Channel 35 recognize that this is a celebration of a man's life who dedicated it to public service within the city of Los Angeles. When he went to work that morning, he did not know he was not going to come home. That is the life of law enforcement. He deserves this and more. And I just wanted to get up and say this so that the people that are watching, the people that want to do more than just come and speak and make literally no sense, rattling off about a man who sacrificed his life for the city. No applause. We celebrate his life. We thank him and his family for all of the years of service. Every day going to work, putting his life on the line. This is a fitting tribute, and I'm sure that we will all support Mr. Krikorian in the naming of this square. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Wesson. No other speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Next item.
Item 23, called special for cards.
Mr. Herman. Eric Previn.
Good morning, Councilman Labange, Councilman Wesson, and the other council members. It is Eric Previn, a resident of Studio City and also a candidate in the CD2 council election. And I'd like to thank Mr. Wesson and Mr. Price for this item today, item 23, which is it's actually picking up a $600 charge for the use of a mobile stage program during the Remembering Selma celebration on February 21. And I appreciate that. I think that's a nice move, and so thank you. Obviously, this time of year, coming up on March 7th, is the Selma terrible commemoration of Bloody Sunday, as those of you remember. This is a very loaded issue for members of Los Angeles, but also all over America, because civil rights continues to be a great struggle for constituents and members of your constituency certainly appreciate when these kinds of commemorations come forward. We also would like to thank Mr. Krikorian for his noticing the Armenian genocide's 100th anniversary in many ways in the last couple of weeks. And there are many other issues that we joined together as a group to respond to the civil rights. And I also want to thank Mr. Wesson for identifying the family of that police officer and understanding that we're naming that out of respect. And I would ask this body to think about what redressing grievances, which is what the March in Selma, Alabama was all about, and the rights to do that. And when these members of the public who I think have been tagged inappropriately as something other than members of the public who want to redress grievances, I think it sends a terrible signal. And I think one great and obvious way to remedy that would be to, just like when we saw Mr. Wesson twice today give a great presentation, and Ms. Martinez and Mr. Farrell, just show the public in the same way, equitably, or alternatively, if they don't want to make us the same size, they could reduce you, sir.
Wayne Spindler.
But please, let's take care of this.
Wayne Spindler. One minute. let you pass, Wayne. Thank you very much. Daniel Gus. Please step aside, sir. The next speaker. It's not permitted.
My last 2 minutes, I'm going to say something nice about Mr. Wesson. Because Mr. Wesson's a good man. But notice that when I speak nicely about this issue, and I say good things about Mr. Wesson, the cops don't descend on us. When I say good things about the maker of this motion, Mr. Wesson, and doing the right thing about remembering Selma, notice how they let you go off topic. But when you criticize a council member, 3 cops descend.
Daniel, please stay on the topic.
Yeah.
And I asked you, please stay on the topic.
Okay, right. And I'm complimenting you because Mr. Wesson listens to the public. Mr. Wesson is accessible. And I believe he usually does the right, no, always does the right thing. Oh, I'm paying you, Mr. Wesson, I'm paying you a compliment and I'm being called off topic. I'm complimenting you.
No, but that is off topic. But just
that I'm
stay
complimenting
on the
you
item.
for doing this?
Stay on the item.
All right.
And I appreciate that, though,
Yeah.
Daniel.
All right. Well, you see, that's how Mr. Wesson is pragmatic. He's a good man. This is a good event. And I would have more positive things to say about events like this. The Mothers in Action Remembering Selma event. When we're treated fairly, we treat you fairly. But when you go after us, we don't. But I like this, Mothers in Action for the Remembering the Selma event. It's good to have these things. Mr. Wesson is to be commended for that. And when you treat us right, I'll treat you right. I'll give you your, well, no, I only have 17 seconds left. So no one won, even though I like Mr. Wesson.
No, now you're off topic.
Cindy Montanez,
Now
CD6.
you stay on topic. Okay, that's the only speaker. No applause. That's the last speaker, not the only speaker. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
Item 24, called special for cards.
Mr. Walsh, does Mr. Walsh have time? Mr. Walsh, I'm informed you have 1 minute, but this is on item 24. Please step forward.
John Walsh, blogging at the blocked website J. Walsh Confidential. More about that under public comment. This is called a vacation proceedings. That doesn't mean a trip to Cabo San Lucas. That means that a portion of the L-shaped alley northerly of Wilshire Boulevard and westerly of La Brea Avenue is, in fact, being transferred from city property and being given to someone. Remember, these agenda items don't tell you anything. This agenda item didn't tell you about the police officer being hit by a drunk driver. It just mentioned his name. These are very sketchy because you don't want people to know exactly what's happening. Blogging at J. Walsh Confidential, go and see what they do to you when you talk like this.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
Item 26, called special for cards.
Okay, now Mr. Walsh is out of time, correct?
Correct, sir.
Mr. Spindler and Mr. Herman. Wait, who has what? Mr. Spindler has 1 minute. Yes, sir.
Okay. 26, this is good, very good. Council District 14, Jose Huizar for re-election.
On the topic.
Well, yeah, I'm on the topic.
No, you're not, Wayne. I'm not going to argue. This has nothing to do with re-election. Read the item and stay on it. That's all I ask. And you can speak all you want.
Okay.
Bonin for Weezer Englander relative to amending prior council action regarding the allocation of Council District 14.
There it is, CD 14. So they continue the mission, the beautification of CD 14, another $50,000 going to eliminate blight. The person running against Weezer can't do that.
No, you're off the topic. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. And you've been warned. Mr. Herman.
Mr. Weezer and Mr. Englander regarding the Clarks that Nick Pacheco, former Councilman Nick Pacheco, created a Clarks, a special piggy bank for all you corrupted politicians to dip your hands into that wallet of the taxpayers and not provide the provisions of beautification projects.
Stay on the subject.
It's talking about
Stay on the
beautification
subject.
projects, sir, Mr. Speaker.
Stay on the subject.
And the subject has to do with amenities, trust funds for community beautification projects. The same projects all the Angelinos in CD14 have been waiting for. Thank you, Ms. Molina, for Grand Park, because it's a beautiful location in CD14.
You are off the subject, Mr. Herman. You're off the subject. You stay on that or your time is gone.
Station, sir. I don't believe I am incorrect. Maybe politically wrong, because I'm not saying it the way you want me to say it, sir, about Council District 14, Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station Clarks Community Amenities Trust Fund for Community Beautification. Heil to Council District 14. Amend prior council action March 21st, 2014. By additional count of $49,875 with the other aspects of that council. Hail to the beautification projects. Hail to the beautification project. Hail to every beautification project that all of you forget to provide those provisions for us minorities in communities where beautiful projects don't take place, idiots.
Okay. That's the last card I have on that item. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay.
President, can we send that forthwith, please?
Forthwith.
Thank you.
Okay, no applause. Mr. Clerk, where are we now?
Mr. President, that takes council to general public comment for items not on council's agenda.
Okay, I want Mr. Walsh. Mr. Jose Martinez. Marion Fogler, and then Mr. Previn.
Vote no on city charter amendments 1 and 2. They're racist. Now, if you go to J. Walsh Confidential, this is what you'll get right now. Malicious website block, J. Walsh Confidential. This website may be dangerous, and it is recommended that you do not continue for your protection. This site has been blocked. This detailed report explains the security risks in this site. So if you want to know what I said, if you want a detailed report, go and find out. You'll find out what I said. And I will continue to say that this is a racist. No on, we want you to vote no. And who is putting up the money? The LA Times did an expose yesterday. Who's putting up the money for the yes vote? You're not going to believe this. Lucky Strike and Anheuser-Busch Budweiser. It's about they are, oh yeah, we know how much they're crying. Why are they doing this? Because it gives every one of you a year and a half of unelected term, and it gives the mayor
Thank you. Your time is expired. Do I have Mr. Martinez? I don't, so if I could have Marion Fogler, Eric Previn, and Donna Pierman. Daniel, do you have a? Yeah, I got it. I got it.
I'd like to additionally say after what John Walsh said, you don't even know how much it's going to cost to the city, because when you voters turn the city elections over, go to our city, saveourcityelections.org. If you turn it over, it's going to cost the city probably more money, because the city's going to have to pay what the county bids. And there's nobody to bid against the county, and that's what's going to be. So it's going to cost us a lot more money, and then you're going to be paying all these fabulous pensions that not only because they're going to be serving a year and a half more, they're going to get more pension. And they're asking city workers to make concessions on their health care, on their pay, everything. You want to have good service. You don't cut the workers that are serving you, providing those services, including the city elections department. We need to vote no on 1 and 2. Please, voters, do not vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pearman, followed by Mr. Gus. And Eric, I got mixed it up. Wait, Eric's after Marion. Okay. Then I have Ms. Pearman. All right, Mr. Previn.
It's Eric Previn, a resident from Studio City and a candidate in the CD2 election with Mr. Krikorian, who is absent today. I want to talk about the idea of looking away from wrongdoing and such. When we have a situation like with Penn State, too many people in community were aware that something was wrong and they didn't do a thing about it. When GM knew that there were problems with certain of their vehicles, too many of the employees were not. They looked away, and nothing was done, and people died. And that phenomenon, is playing out all over our country. In Albany, New York, where the government has come up, lots of corruption and problems. And people knew about it, but they just didn't say anything. And I'm asking this group of council members and city attorneys and a bunch of hallowed folks to look at what's happening in this meeting and look at how I'm teeny and everybody on your side is large, and ask yourselves, why don't we ask Mr. Wesson, please, sir, let's fix it, because then the meeting will be vital again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Ms. Pearman, and followed by Mr. Gus.
First, I want to say, Nuri, if you want people to vote for you, you should turn on the video conferencing in Van Nuys. Anyway, you gave us only 1 minute, and you had that way too many presentations. Anyway, we don't know how much it will cost the city to do the county elections. They'll set their own price. It's not transparent. Go to saveourcityelections.org. Has nothing to do with voter turnout or cost savings. It's employed to get 1.5 years more for the mayor, city council, city attorney, and city controller. It's President Herb Wesson, and the city council stands to gain a lot more money and salary and pensions, 18-month extension. Also, that makes the ballot a lot more confusing. Make everything in an even year. Just because more people vote doesn't mean they complete the ballot. A lot more boxes will be unchecked. That's all. Anyway, they want to close off our voices. Minorities, youth, and women, especially because they vote at our voices.
Thank you. Okay, if we can have Mr. Gus, and where's Brian? Come on. Yes, sir.
Council members, Mark Twain said that politicians and diapers should be changed frequently and for the same reason. We'll talk about Ms. Martinez, who's going to be the shortest tenured council member ever. Jack Humphreyville has an article today on City Watch LA about the do-nothing Nuri Martinez. Nuri Martinez coerced city staffers to work on the Raul Bocanegra recount. You're going to be sued for retaliation or harassment one way or the other. The Daily News talks about contributions from an accountant named Jack Benedin to Nuri Martinez that they can't explain why they're there. The LA Times says Nuri Martinez sent out illegal campaign mailers. The Times endorsed Cindy Montanez for CD6. See, Ms. Martinez is a do-nothing, like Jack Humphreyville said. And thank you for your day. CD6 Montanez, no on 1 and 2.
Thank you. Mr. Barajas, do we have an Alonzo Bradford? You make your way down, followed by Charles Sheard. Yes, Mr. Barajas.
Thank you. Now, what I have in my hands is a 375-page report on the New Silk Road becomes the World Land Bridge. On the back of this report, there's a map with all of the transportation systems which intersects into Los Angeles down to Latin America. Now, the reason why I bring this up for world development is because it's the only way we could avoid thermonuclear World War III. Whether it happens or not depends on what we do. There's a petition going around, as I've been exclaiming for a while, for people to sign. Some particular person recently has signed on to our petition, and some of you might even know her. Her name is Amelia Boynton Robinson. And the reason why I say that is because it shows you that the world that we live in, we're battling something big. And for have her to sign on, well, where are you guys?
Okay, Bradford. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Hello. My name is Alonzo Bradford, and I reside at 1625 Crenshaw Boulevard. And I'd like to voice a concern for tenants' rights in Los Angeles. Tenants who reside in buildings built after 1984 have no protection from unfair and unjust treatment from landlords. My building was recently bought by an LLC from a mom-and-pop ownership. We never were warned of the sale. We were never told of anything. We just woke up one morning to eviction notices on our doors. We were told by the new owner out of the sale and reassured of a healthy new tenant-landlord relationship. The next following month, that's when we received our eviction notice. His reason being he's fed up with Section 8 wasting his time. In regards to the overall process, the red tape that he had to cross. The building is mostly elder, too old to move, living in fixed income.
Thank you. So now I need Charles Sheard, followed by Leilani. And Leilani, I cannot make out your last name. Are you Charles?
Good morning.
Charles?
My name is Charles Sheard. I'm a veteran. I want to thank the housemen and all the gentlemen here sitting around. It took me 34 years to get service connected, and I fought for 34 years. The previous owner came and got me, and I was homeless. And thank God for the veterans, I was able to move into the same 1625 Crenshaw Boulevard, and it's a wonderful neighborhood. And what has happened is that we have been uprooted. We had been disfranchised from the community due to the rail system, and I guess it's better for the transportation for a lot of us. Either you're gonna be rich or broke, and I think we all need to be heard as people, and let every ear hear what is to be said.
Thank you.
This is the problem.
Thank you. Everyone gets the same amount of time. I appreciate you coming down. Your time is up. I need Leilani now. But I appreciate and listen to everything you said, sir, because I'm your neighbor. Come on up.
Thank you. It's Leilani Sachet. Thank you, Mr. Wesson. I'm piggybacking on the previous, what the other speakers were speaking about. We first want to thank you for your office coming out and giving us education about our building. I must say that we have been forced to vacate our stable, diverse community comprised of veterans, elderly, disabled, school-aged children, college students, and low-income and market-rate tenants. This is going to force many tenants to look for housing outside of their stable, healthy community into substandard living conditions. For example, unhealthy, dangerous, toxic, gang-related, and even shelters. This will be noted as deplorable living conditions. Many tenants are depressed, suicidal, insomnia, and some tenants have been affected to drop out of school. We are in an economic and a financial as well as a housing crisis status here in Los Angeles, and we are being asked to move in an untimely fashion without financial compensation. We are asking if someone could come forward if our civil rights have been violated. We're asking for more time, and we're asking for a comparable fee of moving in. Thank you, Mr. Wesson.
Thank you. Do we have a Peter? No applause. Do we have a Peter? I cannot make out the last name. But you can come up and pronounce the name for me. Yes, sir.
My name is Peter Fogler.
Okay.
I'm a resident of Arleta, and I work for the City of Sanitation. I just want to say to vote no on Prop 1 and 2. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming down. Mr. Spindler, followed by Mr. Herman.
Okay. Two things in CD6 to remember. F the incumbent, vote for Cindy Montanez. In CD14, it's a tough choice, really tough. But I think Weezer deserves another term because he's stealing the money necessary to rebuild much of CD14. You have to do it that way. It's Chicago politics until it changes. And Gloria Molina will eat every single food and snack beverage in the back. Paul Koretz will be starved. So vote for the CD14 incumbent. The rest of them, throw them all out, though. They need to go. Koreatown needs to be liberated. Free Koreatown of the dictatorship of Herb Wesson. Even though I sig heil him, that's because he has the cops all over the place. Finally, no on 1, no on 2, no, no, no.
Thank you. Okay, no applause. If I could get Mr. Herman.
Mr. Speaker, it would be in good interest you would read the card by my name, sir. However, Mr. LeBon said that we, the speakers, contribute to the welfare of the city. Well, no. We contribute to our beliefs in the American system, Mr. LeBon, as you speak to Mr. O'Farrell. And the point of Mr. for saying F and reason, I'm saying stop anticipating what we say, you F and you. That was not unconstitutional. And none of us are going to suffer from voting fatigue. That's why Mr. Weezer is absent from his seat again. Vote for Gloria Molina. Vote no on Amendment 1. Vote no on Amendment 2. Vote no for Krikorian and Weezer. And when you get this bullshit package, I said, this is beautification. This is trash, and this is real trash.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, Mr. City Attorney, that concludes general public comment. What is before this body?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Announcements. Members, if we could all rise for adjourning motions. Everyone in the audience, if you would please be respectful and rise. I'll start off with Mr. Koretz to my right.
Thank you, Mr. President. The entire world is saddened today to learn of the passing of one of our favorite people, Leonard Nimoy, from chronic pulmonary disease, from a habit which he had long abandoned of smoking. He created one of the most wonderful and iconic characters in the history of film and television for his portrayal in...
Go right ahead, Mr. Koretz. There is a, wait, let me just say we are having disruptions. Please don't disrupt as we are adjourning in the memory of individuals. Go right ahead. Mr.
Could we ask that the person that's continuing to interrupt...
I'll take that. You keep going. You keep going, Paul. I'll take care of it.
So Leonard Nimoy will be treasured throughout the country, the world, and throughout the universe for his portrayal of Mr. Spock in Star Trek. His most iconic gesture, the Vulcan salute, actually came from something he had seen in an Orthodox synagogue when he was a child. And much of that character he created himself truly. He was in show business for more than 60 years. He was renowned not just as an actor of stage, television, film, as a skilled director, a published poet, a well-regarded photographer, even a singer, and he was an activist in the environmental and Jewish community, among others. I got to know him when I was regional director of the California League of Conservation Voters in the late 70s, early 80s, and he and his wife, Susan Bay Nimoy, were very active. A couple of years later, and most people don't know that I did any kind of business activity, but I was actually the person that designed the memorabilia for the movie Star Trek II. And one of the things that I helped develop was a sculpted ceramic mug of Leonard Nimoy, which he never saw at the time. I remember showing it to him a few years later. His wife loved it. He was absolutely horrified. Now, it looked just like him. But I think it was not so much that, but he always seemed to have a love-hate relationship with the Spock character that was so iconic that he was always thought of as Spock. I got to see him last time a few months ago at one of the most difficult public meetings I've had when we had the development of several by-right giant homes in Bel Air, and a group of people met to draw it to my attention and come and scream and yell at me. Not the best meeting I ever had, but I'll always appreciate that meeting because I had a chance to see Leonard Nimoy a last time and say hello. So may he rest in peace. He told people to live long and prosper in his role, and he certainly did.
Thank you, Mr. Laban.
Yeah, just to add to that, what is great in all of our districts, people who, like Mr. Nimoy, participate. He was a great friend of the Griffith Observatory and participated in many levels, including the expansion and renovation. That's the beauty of an angel in the City of Angels, and he's now with the Angels.
Thank you. Still, any more to my right? Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Jaden Janelle, who passed away February 19, 2015. Jaden's life began suddenly after a car accident that left him in distress when he was only 31 weeks in gestation. He was born August 22nd, 2007, during an emergency C-section in which he was only 2 pounds. His condition was bleak, having found out he had incurred a brain hemorrhage, along with multiple heart and lung complications. 6 months went by. 3 surgeries later, Jaden was still in ICU. While in the hospital, Jaden had a feeding tube and other procedures. The family spent days and nights learning how to care for him, and after 9 months of being hospitalized, he was finally able to go home. Jaden's smile was the light of the family's life. He went on to grow into a healthy kid. He learned to say his numbers, his ABCs. His favorite TV show was Yo Gabba Gabba, in which the family would join in. As a second grader, Jaden brought much joy and happiness to Washington Elementary School. He was best known for his beautiful, contagious smile, which would light up a room. At 7.5 years of age, he began to suffer new symptoms. The doctors found he had a sinus infection which spread through his eyes and then to his brain, causing irreversible loss of brain function. After several failed attempts to find brain activity, he was officially accepted as deceased on February 19th in the arms of his mother and father. He leaves his 3 siblings and a host of family members, and the services will be Thursday, March 5th at Rose Hill Mortuary. Second one I have is that was notified today that retired commander of LAPD Billy Wedgeworth, who joined LAPD in 1960, passed away this morning through natural causes, and we'll have more information and services next week.
Mr. LeBon.
Just on Billy Wedgeworth, was a great friend of John Ferraro, and I'm so sad to hear that, a great commander with the LAPD.
Thank you. Now I'll move over to Mr. Blumenfield.
I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Mrs. Taji Afshar Rafi. She was born in 1935, and she's an Angelino, or was an Angelino, but she was born in Tehran, Iran. Her father was a decorated general in the Shah's army, but he died when she was very young, at 4 years old. She ultimately became a nurse and a woman in the community. She married one of the pioneer filmmakers of Iran, Mr. Aziz Rafi. They raised one son, 6 daughters, 15 grandkids. Her kids and grandkids grew up to get great educations from top universities throughout the country here, serving as medical doctors, attorneys, heads of police and media, and both here in the U.S. and Canada and Germany and even Iran. We remember Mrs. Taji Afshar Rafi by what many called her. She was affectionately known as an ambassador of peace.
Thank you. I'm still looking to my left side. Don't see any. Members have a good weekend. This council meeting is adjourned.